Folks, my name is Pradi Mahale, one of the team member of the Office of Employer Initiative. And today it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Mahaya Baldini. She has served as the AEL State Director since July of 2020, but served as the program supervisor for 6 years prior. She has a background in workforce development and adult education and has worked at the Texas Workforce Commission for over 10 years. Today, Ms. Mahaya will talk about speeding pathways to careers. So with that, Ms. Mahaya, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody, and I'm going to attempt to share my screen. And Pradi, if you'll give me permissions, I will get my PowerPoint pulled up here.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so hopefully you guys are seeing my PowerPoint. And I wanted to thank everybody just for joining us today. Pradi, what are you seeing out there? Just to make sure.
I am seeing on the Michael Britt's screen.
Okay.
So do you want me to? Okay, so you are sharing your screen?
If you want to share yours, that may help. Let me try it one more time. Okay, what are you seeing now?
Okay, you're good to go.
All right, great. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I'm thrilled to be here today to share with you some of the things that are happening in adult education and literacy here at TWC. I am actually going to stop my video just so I have a little bit more bandwidth here as we move through the presentation. You'll notice here at the very top, I do have a find a program near you. And I'm putting that here at the forefront because as we move through today's session, if you think, well, how do I find these programs? There's a link right there for you here at the top of the PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you just a second. I hate to interrupt. I need you to go ahead and play your PowerPoint. Right now, we're just seeing it in the PowerPoint. It's not playing the show. So if you want to click on play from beginning, there you go.
Technical difficulties. So are you guys, what screen are you on, Pradi?
I'm on the first screen, speeding pathways to career.
Perfect. Go ahead and go to the next slide.
Oh, okay. So I'm not in your slide at the moment, but okay. Okay. Let me.
Halia, if you just want to push from beginning, are you not? There you go. I see you clicking on it. There you go. You're all set now.
Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to talk a little bit about the AEL system in general. So our system is very large. So we do a statewide multi-year grant. We have a statewide competition about every 5 years or so. And that statewide competition is what gets us that local level partnerships and those local level providers that you have in your communities. Right now, that's largely consisted of a consortia within those local communities, and it can consist of community colleges. We have 4 workforce boards that are direct grantees with us. We have 2 nonprofits. We have several educational service centers, and then several ISDs. So it's kind of a mixture of what we have available out there and sort of who our grantees are. This is an over $80 million investment that we make annually to adult education and literacy services. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about what those services are. We serve around 80,000 students and individuals within those services annually. And because of WIOA, and for those of you that don't know what WIOA is, it's the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And we are sort of nestled within that statute under Title II, which is adult education. And under WIOA, we have a very specific focus on post-secondary enrollment and then focus on employer engagement for all of our students that enter into our program. So when we're talking about our students and sort of who is our customer, what I love about AEL and what I feel is what makes it sort of a keystone program within the agency is really who we serve. It's very broad, and it allows us to really focus on the Texans, I think, that are most in need. So we serve individuals that either have a high school diploma or do not have a high school diploma. We also serve individuals that may be language deficient. So your ESL individuals that need language skills, and that can include those who are maybe illiterate in their home and native languages, but also those that are very highly skilled in their home languages and highly skilled in their home countries in terms of technical skills or credentials that they have obtained, but they lack the language fluency to really be successful in the employment marketplace in the US. So it's very broad. You can kind of see here anyone that basically would fall below this 12th grade reading, writing, math level would really qualify for AEL services. So we are very broad, I think, in terms of who we serve. And I want to talk a little bit about why we serve them and what are some of the goals that the participants coming into our program really have when they come to us. So some of the goals, as you can see here, becoming illiterate and obtain knowledge and skills necessary for employment or economic self-sufficiency. Of course, obtain your high school equivalency if you don't currently have one, just to be more competitive, again, in the employment marketplace, or to align your goals to your post-secondary options. We do a high school equivalency attainment. And right now, we actually have a high school equivalency voucher program that we have initiated that provides free vouchers to individuals that want to come through our services and into our program. We have that available as well. So that's a great sort of incentive for individuals out there within your employment industries, or those that are looking to go to college, but maybe need that high school equivalency. Now's the time. We've got money out there in the communities to support individuals with that goal. We also have participate in post-secondary education and training, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about what is an integrated education and training program, because that is something that's very specific in the statute that we're required to do. And I want to kind of give some information about what does that really mean, because programs, and especially education, we love our acronyms. So I want to make sure that I can kind of touch on that and what that really looks like from a service delivery perspective in your communities. And then the big one, enter or advance in employment, including preparing for unsubsidized employment, but focusing on in-demand industries and occupations that really lead to that economic self-sufficiency. So we're trying to create those career ladders and those career pathways for individuals that maybe at their current state or where they currently are academically are passed over for those higher skilled jobs. They need that sort of educational support or certificate or degree to be eligible for those positions. We really have a statewide need. So how do we really speed Texans into targeted and high demand jobs and industries? It's not a new conundrum for any of us. This is something that's sort of always been there, and many of the programs that we operate here at TWC are really to serve this population of individuals with low basic skills. So how do we really do this? And particularly with AEL, we want to look at individuals and support individuals that may have low basic skills, or that lack their high school diploma or an equivalent, or perhaps those that are just non-native speakers, to get the academic remediation that they need, coupled with perhaps a workforce training. And I put in here workforce training with entry and exit points. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about that IET and what do we really mean about offering training through adult education and literacy that includes entry and exit points back into the employment marketplace. And work readiness. This is a big one for employers, and this is something that all of our programs have available and can offer, which is really the soft skills. And then what does that mean when they sort of leave us? What's the next step? Well, we want to prepare all of our participants for those next stages and those longer term goals, which oftentimes include continued education and employment pathways, maybe perhaps in an industry where they currently work, but they really just don't have the credentials, or they don't have the degree necessary to apply for and advance in those higher skilled positions. And I can see there's probably some questions coming in. I will save time at the end for some questions as well. So when we're talking about really pathways for our participants and what is the ultimate goal for AEL, all of our participants come in the program, they fit somewhere, right? The whole purpose of AEL, it's not just about obtaining the high school diploma. It's about you're obtaining your high school diploma for what purpose? What is the goal that is connected to that attainment? And oftentimes it's either I want to go to college or I want to advance in my career in the industry that I'm in because I love it. Well, those are all great, and we want to be able to support that. What we know is the participants that are coming into our program are coming into it at very different levels. But we've created and designed a program that regardless of where the participant is at when they come to us, our goal is always to help them with that career ladder and help them in that advancement. So we offer everything from a basic bridge program all the way up to entry-level skilled jobs, industry recognized certificate programs, and even those level one sort of coveted certificates that really get individuals into middle skilled jobs. We know we have a lot of vacancies out there for middle skilled jobs, and we want to make sure that all the Texans that we have are getting the necessary education and the necessary skills that they need to be, very competitive in that marketplace. So earlier I had talked about integrated education and training. And I wanted to give you guys and kind of leave this with you as sort of what does that really look like and what does that really mean? So sometimes the best way I think to do that is just to take something that's just very specific and sort of outline it in a very specific way. It kind of helps to visualize what that pathway could look like for a student. And this is sort of what we think of in AEL when we think about a career pathway for an AEL student. So you can see here, this is sort of the HVAC career pathway or the HVAC educational ladder, if you would. At the very basic of that and sort of an entry level opportunity for a student is to get that maintenance repair tech certification, right? It includes the OSA and some industry recognized credentials, and they would take a couple of courses. But while they are taking those courses from a training perspective, they're also going to be getting these contextualized academic support. And the reason why the contextualized academic support is so important is because the goal for the student is to be able to stand alone in a college setting and not need remediation. We don't want folks in developmental ed. That creates student debt. Which lowers their self-sufficiency when they're trying to support their family because they're busy paying off student loans. So what we want to be able to do is to make sure that that individual is college ready so that they are ready to go into credit-bearing courses when they leave our program. But they're also going to have an industry recognized certification that's going to allow them to earn a wage while completing and going to that sort of next phase within their academic career. So we may start and we may offer that IET there at that beginning certificate level, but we also want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence with our participants to make sure they know what that career ladder looks like and what it's going to take. So you can see here that this is just a way for us to kind of make that trajectory for the student and supporting them as much as we can until hopefully they no longer need us, because that's always the goal. The goal in AEL and many of our programs is to create that sufficiency with the student so they don't need us anymore. We're trying to work ourselves out of a job. So that is sort of the rundown of some of the just one part of the services that we provide in adult education, even though it's a very important part. And if it feels like I'm rushing through this, well, I am, because 30 minutes is not nearly enough time for me to talk about all the things that I want to talk about with you guys. But we're here for you. And if you have any questions, of course, you can always reach out to us. So I want to kind of transition into how do we really help each other? How do we help each other to sort of create these speeded pathways for students here in Texas? And the big one is always awareness and referrals. It's why I really enjoy doing these sessions and these presentations, because it gets everybody sort of thinking about how does this apply to me and how can I utilize this program just to support something that maybe an objective that you have there locally, whether you're an employer or, a community college that's looking to maybe look at, the way things that are currently operating within your systems. It's always good to kind of get the information out there to create that awareness. So what we really see in AEL is we have, populations that we feel like those are real candidates for us. And we want to support those candidates in creating, again, this pathway for them. So you can see here that we've got a lot of eligible students. And when I'm thinking eligible students in Texas, I'm thinking where are the students that are sort of those lower basic skills or even medium basic skills, but just are not college ready, or individuals that are low skilled and they're employed, but maybe they're lacking their high school diploma, and that high school diploma or that industry recognized certificate is really needed and required for advancement within the industry that they are currently working in. And that's how we sort of help each other. I think from an employer's perspective, when was the last time you really looked into, your employees to say how many of them may qualify in one of these areas? The high skilled limited English proficient, as you can see on here, we call those internationally trained professionals. And I talked about it a little bit earlier, but the internationally trained professionals, again, they're degreed oftentimes in their home countries. They're highly skilled, but they don't have the language skill that they need to really be successful and competitive a lot of times in certain industries. And we want to make sure that we are recruiting and letting those individuals know that, we can help with the language part to create, an advancement opportunity for them. Recent dropouts, that's very common, right? That's sort of, I think, when people think of AEL in Texas, that's one of the first things that comes to mind. Oh yeah, that's the GED program. We get that a lot, but we do a lot more than GED or high school equivalency. We also work with low skilled employed that maybe already have their high school diploma, but they need that certification. Again, going back to that integrated education and training model. So there's a lot of opportunity, and we have a lot of very specific programs for specific populations that we serve. And we want to create that awareness in our communities that we're open for business, even under the pandemic. So how can we help? How can AEL help employers? How can we help community colleges? For the employer side of things, we do work-based learning. This can be a class that's on site at your place of business. It can include things like skill upgrading, but also digital literacy. And then those coveted sort of soft skills that employers really are looking and need from their employees to kind of have and be able to communicate effectively, conflict resolution. We do the soft skills as well as part of our work readiness requirements for our grantees. For the community college, TSI prep, right? Creating a transitional or a bridge program for individuals that may need preparatory services before they're really ready for that college placement. Skills Development Fund, you've been hearing probably about this yesterday and today about the Skills Development Fund. We align our AEL basic support for those entry and mid-level employees that may not be eligible for training, because they're lacking that basic skills requirement, that academic level to be successful in that training. We can help to remediate that. So before we sort of close out today, I want to make sure that I talk about some of the special initiatives that we have. These are initiatives that are approved by our commission. Our commissioners are great partners for us. They're great supporters for the work that we do here in adult education and literacy. And they approve funding for things sort of outside of that regular core grant that we have. These are in addition to that. And these are special initiatives. Accelerate Texas is one of them. Ability to Benefit is another. So for Accelerate Texas, the commission has approved over $12 million since 2016, again, to support those lower skilled Texans in targeted industries. So how do we really get the population in the door, remediate those academic needs, along with some workforce training, and create an entry point into an industry that they will be very successful in an industry that needs skilled workers. And then the Ability to Benefit, we've put $1.5 million since 2016 into Ability to Benefit. And this is specifically for those who lack a high school diploma, who are co-enrolled in college and career pathways. So while they're also getting their high school diploma, they're co-enrolled into college classes. So it's sort of a simultaneous partnership between the high school equivalency program while the student is earning that college credit. Now, I would be remiss, and I'm going to take every opportunity that I can to talk about, well, when's the next round, right? So we've got this money that's going to be coming out here, and we have a RFA that's tentatively scheduled for release in mid-January. So keep a lookout. If you are thinking this is something you want to be a part of, we're always looking for, new opportunities and new applicants for people that want to provide these services locally. And eligible applicants, there's a lot of opportunity here. So I've created a list of them. I've put them here in the slide so that you can look at that. And even if you're an employer or maybe you're an organization that sort of fits outside of what this eligible applicant is, just remember, we're all about partnerships. So if you want to come in as a consortia, if you want to come in as a partnership, there may be some opportunity to do that. So check that RFA out when it comes online here, probably mid-January. Be looking for that if you're interested in being able to provide these types of services in your own community. And then, as I promised, for those of you that did not get the link at the top of the webinar, in the top of the session, there's a link here. If you're looking for providers near you and programs near you that you may want to reach out to create a new partnership there at the local level, and you're interested in the services that are happening in your own communities, feel free to land on that page, look up who that provider is, and give them a call. We're always doing sessions like this to drum up business and make people very aware of what's out there. So Prati, if you care, that's all the slides that I have. So I'm open for questions.
Absolutely great presentation. And I do have 3 questions here. The first question is, how do AEL work with ISD high school vulnerable students?
So can you ask the question one more time?
Yes. How do AEL work with ISD high school vulnerable students?
So it's a good question, and it actually speaks, I think, to one of the eligibility questions that we typically get asked, and that is, do we work with youth? So it's a great question and an opportunity for me to kind of clarify that. So the answer is yes, we do have many of our programs and the funds that we have out in local communities do go to ISDs through that competitive application process. We will serve individuals and youth who are 16 and up, but we do follow the state compulsory attendance laws. So what that means is if they are enrolled in secondary education, meaning they're enrolled in a public school, then they're not eligible for AEL. However, if they're 16 and by way of court order, they're no longer attending public school, we will serve them with a court order. If they're 17 or 18 and they have parent permission, maybe they've dropped out of school and they're looking to obtain their high school equivalency as another option, we will also work with those individuals in a youth capacity.
Great. The second question is, are ex-offenders eligible for AEL?
Good question. One of the things that one of the special populations that we serve in adult education and literacy are ex-offenders. We have local programs, and many of our grantees offer great support in terms of reentry initiatives to ex-offenders within those communities, and that is pretty extensive. It can start while they're still incarcerated, and something that transitions once they are no longer incarcerated to keep them and create the linkages that they need to those community programs once they are sort of out of prison, out of jail. So we do work with ex-offenders. We do offer reentry services. It's a special population. We actually have targets associated with this population and serving ex-offenders. Great question.
Good. And the third question I have is, what is the cost per trainee allocation for ATX and ATB? And if you don't mind, just let us know what is ATX and ATB.
So ATX is an acronym that we use. It's for Accelerate Texas. And I had a slide here. I can probably still go back to it. Accelerate Texas, that's ATX. And then ATB is Ability to Benefit. And in terms of the cost per, you'll find that information outlined in the RFA. We're constantly looking at, the cost for what does it really take to do this integrated education and training model. And it does vary sometimes. So my advice would be to look at that RFA when it comes out. You should be able to find the information in there if you're specifically looking for Accelerate Texas or Ability to Benefit.
Good. And the fourth question I have is there a program in each county, or how is the service delivery set up in the workforce area?
Another great question. So the way that our funds are allocated through our core grant, and again, this is a competitive grant, we allocate our funding by workforce board area. That is the way the funding is allocated. It's further broken down by county. So yes, we do fund based on the county level. And then when the service providers are, basically under contract with us, they are required to serve the counties within that workforce board area based on their application.
Good. So right now we have about 5 minutes left. If anyone has any more questions, please go ahead and ask. If not, what we have right now is we are going to have a very short break, and at 12:35, Commissioner Dimerson will be with us to close out our conference. Please continue to stay connected, and we will be back on very shortly. Thank you.